friends, today I'm going to be explaining the process behind drawing these two bear guys, and I hope it will be interesting for you and you won't get tired of my shenanigans, I guess. So let's get to it. So I use Photoshop for drawing everything I do digitally, and what I like to do first is delete the first locked layer and replace it with a plain color one, so I can change the color of the background however I want, so it's still editable. And the rest of the process, I guess, is pretty straightforward. For this one, I wanted to unwind because I have been really stressed about my art making lately, and I just felt my art wasn't good enough and I wasn't enjoying it as much as I was before. So my feelings behind my art lately have been really, how to say it, I was just really stressed. So I decided to unwind and do something really fun. So as you may know, I love bears, so I decided to draw some bears, and here they are. I just found some pictures on Pinterest and used them as reference, but as you can see, I'm drawing the bear very loosely and not really like paying attention to having it absolutely perfect, because that's what unwinding is for, to do something for fun and for the joy of it. So I'm just here drawing the bear, and the nice thing about drawing digitally, at least for me, is the fact that you can play with the placement of the sketch and you can fix things as you go. You don't have to like redo the whole thing, so that's what I really like. But I still think it's very important to still sketch in your sketchbook and sketch traditionally, even if you are mainly a digital artist, because it can help you have bolder lines to kind of build a sort of self-confidence in the way you create, because it's more limited in the fact that you have to get things right and you have to erase some stuff. You can just move the sketch around. So I think it's really important to not forget to always switch the mediums up, because that's also what I think makes the art more enjoyable, so you don't fall into a slump or a routine as I did because I have been doing digital for far too much lately and I miss the joy of just creating for fun. Here I am drawing the other bear, and to tell you the truth, this whole project or the whole illustration for me was kind of trust the process thing, because as of right now, at this point of me drawing these bears, I was not feeling it, and to be honest, I was considering like just not doing it at all and just doing nothing again. But I think it's important to, when you make a promise to yourself that you're going to get through this and you're going to, when you decide that you want to do art consistently, and as me, if you have a dream like me that you want to do it as a living, you have to push yourself sometimes because you know that it's good for you. And I think I was running away from doing art just for myself, because I felt that as of right now, like it's not a good enough reason to do art just for yourself, but that's not true. I don't think it's selfish. Many people do things just for themselves and it's okay. So I pushed to do this because I decided that even if it turned out absolutely horrible and ugly, I will still celebrate it for being and existing and myself for creating it and putting it into the world. So I think it's important to sometimes do ugly things, or like let yourself do things even if they are turning up ugly, because you also learned a lot from your mistakes. And I think making this piece really moved me in the right direction, because after doing this I felt light and joyful again. We are finally getting to the fun part, yay, coloring. So for the coloring of these bears, I tried many variations, and as you can see, I am such an indecisive person because for my life, I couldn't decide what colors I wanted to use. But many people ask me how I decide on my color palettes, or what do I use to make things look the way they look. And to be honest, I do things very spontaneously. So For this bear I put like a red background, like a red foreground color, even though there was almost no red visible in the final product. So as you can see, it's very spontaneous, but it makes it fun. I really love the process of making these things because you have all the possibilities. Like when it's finished, it's finished. You have decided, all you have decided, your decision is complete. You can change it if you want, but when it's finished, for me it's like a closed thing, like I'm not going to go back to it. But when you are in the middle of creating, you have so much possibilities to choose from, and I love the feeling of the possibilities, like, oh my, what am I going to choose, like how will it turn out? I'm so excited and so curious because I myself don't know like where this is gonna go. So that, I think that makes it more interesting. And I really love autumn colors or fall color palettes. So, and I also love moss and earth, mold. I love various molds for their color combinations. I guess that's where my inspiration comes from. So for this bear, I decided to make him look like he came out of a lake or was fermenting in his den, not hibernating but fermenting. And I think it went well. Now you can see that I finally decided and settled for a color palette that I wanted to use. And I really love purple with red. That's a really favorite combination of mine. But also the second favorite combination is pink and green, and you can really see it manifesting in this piece. So I guess that's where I was going with these colors. Right now I'm just laying down simple shapes, where the shadow will be, where the light will be, what's the lightest part, what's the darkest part of the picture, and I'm deciding how much contrast I want in this piece, because sometimes it's nice to have less contrast, I think, because it creates a different vibe and gives a different message. But a high contrast, I think, is more eye-catching. It draws people to look at it and kind of try to recognize what the shape is. I think less contrast is more mysterious, but in the end I decided to add a lot of contrast because I wanted to be more clear what I was creating, what I was painting. And sometimes when I do low contrast things, it ends up being too dark overall. If you have a clear purpose, if you have a clear message you want to say with that, that's okay, but sometimes it defeats adding detail and stuff because in the end you can't see anything. So all of your hard work was for nothing. When it comes to the eyes of the bear, I was struggling so much. I changed it like a million times. As you can see, this isn't the end result, like I put stars in his eyes and stuff, and right now he looks a little crazy. But I wasn't exactly going for a cute look. But as you can see, the bear on the picture is so cute, and mine right now looks like he wants to tear you to pieces. So I changed my decision on the eyes many times after, as you will see soon. So this is the part of the process where you have to really tell yourself to trust the process, because it was not it. It didn't look good at this point for me, but I decided I'm gonna do it anyway. Like, it's about the process, it's not about the delivery, or it's not about the end product. It's about the journey. Like, I'm trying to sound all philosophical, but I think it's really important that this is why I'm decided to go this path, because I enjoyed it. So I decided to stick to it, but it was really hard for me. But at some point, I think the reason I do art, when you get to that point, when you start to get really, really excited, because it's finally started to look like something, and it's finally starting to look promising, and that's when all the possibilities come in. Like, it's finally starting to take shape, and you can see many paths you can take to finish this. And that's the most fun and enjoyable part for me. So here is the eye changing situation. I try to speed it up so you don't have to watch the whole thing, my whole indecisive spiraling. But as you can see, like, yes, till I come to the finished decisions or the finished piece, I take a lot of detours, so I think that's normal and it's to be expected, but sometimes people don't really see what goes behind doing some things and think that people are perfect. I'm not trying to say I do perfect art or people think I'm perfect, but I guess it's really nice to have this sort of look into what's reality and what to really expect from yourself and from artists in general. Like, it's not easy, and art is mainly based on decision making, so you have to try many possibilities before you are comfortable or content with what you chose, and sometimes you can regret what you chose. That's also nice about digital painting and drawing in general, that you can change these things, you can create another layer and try out stuff you want to try out to see what works best. When you are painting on a canvas or you're painting any traditional way, I think there's this risk of it that you can try to do a bold change to your art piece, or like do something you don't usually do, experiment, and it turns out to look horrible. But you have to make these leaps of faith. You have to take these risks and try to change and innovate yourself as much as you can. And digital painting is really good for that, but it's risk-free. You don't really have to use materials, so you don't mourn over what could be. You just delete the layer you don't like. But I think it's also important to try to do things traditionally and to make these decisions, because the digital painting thing gives you freedom to try how many things you want, but I guess it also brings the indecisiveness into the picture, because you have so much freedom to experiment that sometimes you fret over the silliest details, whereas where you have to paint a painting, you make a decision and you either stick to the decision or like change it again completely. You don't have as much time and I think space to worry about such little details. Like, you can, there are people who are good at worrying about details even if they are working traditionally, but I think in the digital world, like, you can really get lost in the details and then you zoom out of the picture and it's not even visible. And it takes so much time, so much hard work for it to mount to nothing. So I guess that's really sad, and that's also what I'm trying to unlearn. It's a bad habit of mine. That's why, as you can see, most of the time as I'm doing the ground layout of the colors, the shapes, the shadows, I'm not really zoomed in too much, because before I used to be zoomed in like 1 pixel and it was not good because I zoomed out, and overall you don't have a good perspective on what you are working with and the picture as a whole. So you are doing one detail, then you zoom out and realize it's out of place, it maybe doesn't make much sense in the grand scheme of everything, and you have to redo it. So I think when you are starting, just putting the important stuff at first, it's nice to be zoomed out, not too zoomed in, because you can get lost, and I am a master at getting lost. As you can see, I got lost talking about some things and now I want to get back to what I'm drawing right now. So as you can see, I'm starting to add more details, and what I like to do is I think I am against color picking. Like, I could have color picked colors from the bear picture onto my bear, but I don't like that because it takes away from your ability to learn how to work with colors properly. And also, I think it takes away the opportunity to create your own color palette, as I did, because my bear looks nothing like the bear on the picture. Like, there's a resemblance, but you get what I'm talking about. So what I like to do is, when I lay the colors, I like to color pick from my own colors and kind of change the lightness or like a shade a little bit and use it in different parts of the bear, like put a cool tone into the light and some warm color into the shadows, so I can kind of connect the whole piece together. So there's no color that's out of place too much. There are colors that look good when they're out of place, like you have one specific color that you put on top or do little details with, and it kind of makes the whole thing pop and it gives it that accent. I think it's also called accent color, and that's nice, but you have to know how to use it. And I tried many times to do that, but overall I like more muted color palettes and more earthy color palettes, so I don't really need that pop. I don't really need an accent color that pops off too much. For me right now, there's this kind of pinkish white that's popping off, but it's still in the eyebrows, it's around the nose, in the teeth, and there's like a similar color on the other bear, so I think it's like nicely connected. And at this point I was getting really happy because the bear finally started to look cute, and I was like, oh yes, this bear is looking good. I'm so happy, he's so cute. And the eyes, I finally decided on the eyes. As you can see, these are the eyes that are in the finished piece, and I think I'm started to be really happy about this. The bear kind of looks like he came out of the swamp. That's also what I wanted to say about the colors that I choose. I like Shrek. I like Shrek a lot, but Shrek has nothing to do with this bear. But I really like the look that if you came into a swamp and walked out of it, that you have all these leaves, branches, maybe some moss or frog eggs on you when you go out. And that's what I have envisioned when I was making this bear. And right now I'm working on the fur, and this is like a kind of meticulous process, and I was really enjoying this. I just turned off my mind and did one fur hair after another singularly, and it was really fun. Like, it takes a lot of time. The whole process of creating these bears, this illustration, took about 2 hours, I think. But the process of making this video took longer, which is a little infuriating, but I guess it's nice to have that retrospective look on how you do things and what your work process is, because I think sometimes we don't even realize the way we work. And I am not really working with other people, so it's kind of hard, because you can compare yourself when you are in an art school setting or something like that with your classmates and peers, and you can see how they do things, how much time it takes them and stuff, and you can also see yourself, like how much you put into detail, how much time you put into drawing or sketching things and stuff. And I'm not really for comparing yourself with others. I don't think it brings that much positive things into your life or into your art journey, but I think it's sometimes important to know where you stand. And sometimes when I looked at other people's videos or how they do things, it helped me to do things more efficiently, because I'm not really an efficient person. Most of the time I come up with techniques and stuff I use myself, and sometimes I do things a certain way, and after a few months I find a video of an artist doing something and they're doing it so much easier and more efficiently than me, and they do the same thing as me in a short period of time, more stress-free. So I like to learn from others as well, and I think that's really important. But you have many things online now, so I think you can learn a lot about art even without the art school setting. So that's what I do. I also learn from you and from other people on the internet. And here I am finishing the hair. I like to do a little outline on when I'm finished with something. I like to do like black or white outline around, because I think it makes it also pop off more. So, very important thing, you should never forget to flip your canvas. As you can see, I was absolutely horrified when I flipped this, because I absolutely forgot to do it, and you can see that the bear is really, really wonky. So I just kind of fixed the ear to look better and to make it more symmetrical, even though it's not symmetrical at all. But as you know, as I mentioned in the beginning, this was a feel-good piece for me. It was something to bring joy of creating to me again. So I didn't really care that much. But if I was working on a commission or doing something more seriously, I would definitely flip my canvas more often. If you know me and you know my love for moss, I have to add it to anything and everything. It's kind of very fun for me to add textures to things that aren't supposed to have that texture. So here I am adding some kind of moss-like, plant-like, grass-like texture on the bear, even mold-like, I would say. And this is my favorite part of the process because it's just pure fun. You can let go yourself because it doesn't even have to make logical sense. You just put it where you want to put it. And I really recommend doing this. Like if you like plants, if you like moss, if you like swamp creatures and fermenting bears over the winter, then definitely do this. Maybe not even fermenting bears, but more of a rotting bear, because sometimes people rot in beds. I learned this recently, and that's kind of sad, but this could be the fantasy outcome of that, I think. And here, for the little sad bear, I'm just finishing up some details. I didn't really record much of the process of his birth because the process was very similar as the big bear, and the color palette is not even that interesting. It's really similar to the original color palette, I think, and he's really simple and small, and I didn't really make the decision of making him cry and make him be sad till the last minutes of working on him, because the way I drew him on the picture, I think he looked more like interested in something, or like he was looking into the sun. But my version looked more sad and more like broken-hearted, so I decided to make that emotion like his main characteristic. I think it paid off, because in the end, the way he looks, his emotion changed the whole direction I was going with this illustration, because I think originally I was like trying to make the bear like they're friends, and the big bear is seeing the small bear after a long time and is really happy to see him. But right now it looks like he's shocked that he sees his friend crying, so I think that's a really nice theme. Or not even shocked, but acknowledging of what he's seeing. Here I didn't have the nerve and the patience to make an intricate background, so I just messed with the tree photo and that made it into the background, as you can see. I sometimes like to do that because that's also the freedom of doing digital art pieces, and it kind of reminds me of collage, and I think it's really fun because it adds this kind of texture to the piece. So right now I'm kind of like deciding what to do about the background, like what to add, because you can see that there's like empty spaces and I want to kind of even it out, make the composition work better. And this message, I see your pain, it kind of came also spontaneously. This was not planned when I started drawing these bears. And I think when you do things out of joy and out of enjoying the process and not really thinking about where it takes you, I think that's when you can create the most interesting and innovative things. I wouldn't say this is like extremely innovative and new, but if I forced myself to do something perfect, something good, something people will like, I wouldn't create this. I would create some processed garbage. So I think the way I did this led me to this outcome that was spontaneous, but I think it fit perfectly together, the bears and the message. It was like therapy for me, because it kind of encapsulates how I have been feeling lately. I have been feeling like my pain, like people can see my pain, and I was bottling up a lot of my sadness and anger and discomfort. And this, I think like I helped myself the most with this, but I think it's also relatable to other people because it's raw and it's real. It's not something I did, it's not premeditated, it's not something I wanted to impress others with. And I think that makes it more heartfelt. So I encourage you to do stuff like this once in a while because it can give you the push you need. Also, thank you for watching this video. I hope it was interesting and I didn't bore you to death. And it was really fun for me. I'm sorry for my English and my accent. It's kind of hard for me to pronounce some things because of my teeth. So I'm really sorry, but I enjoyed this and I enjoyed talking like this, even though I'm talking to myself in my room. Oh, I think it's nice and it makes me more brave to talk what I think about and to put myself out in the world. So thank you for watching this and giving me the opportunity to waste your time. Goodbye, have a nice day.